cute Winnie the Pooh, the Coca-Cola drinking polar bear? Forget the bears you thought you knew. Faster than Usain Bolt and tough enough to shrug off even a gunshot. We reveal the true face of the bear, nature's ultimate tank, hidden behind that cute mask. The bear, image versus reality. If you had to pick an animal with the biggest gap between its image and reality, the bear would have to be on the list. We've grown up familiar with them through things like teddy bears, Winnie the Pooh, the Coca-Cola bear, and even Smokey Bear, the wildfire prevention mascot. Because of this, they have this image of being gentle and friendly with humans. But the truth is, bears are among the most powerful land predators currently existing on Earth. And yet, these predators are coexisting with humans even today. Unlike other major predators that you'd only expect to see on an African safari or in a zoo, bears are animals that frequently appear in the news for attacking hikers in national parks or even wandering into suburban neighborhoods. And the thing is, there aren't many other predators of this size that clash with humans this frequently. In fact, among the animals commonly called predators, bears have a fairly large population. Thanks to successful conservation policies over the last few decades, they've reached the point where you now have a chance to encounter one, for better or worse, across the United States. At this point, we should probably study up on bears, just in case, right? What kind of animal is the bear really? If you meet one, can you get away alive? Let's find out together with Flat Archive. The arrival of humans and the extinction of Megafauna. Africa was, in short, a brutal tutorial. For about 200,000 years, they had to survive a desperate competition against terrifying predators like the giant hyena and saber-toothed cats. During this grueling process, humanity essentially maxed out their stats: overwhelming endurance, throwing ability, and the intelligence for tool-making and controlling fire. So, when they arrived on new continents, it was like a veteran player entering a beginner's hunting ground. They completely ignored the existing ecosystem's meta and just dominated everything with their overwhelming skills. After the arrival of modern humans, large herbivorous mammals, from mammoths to woolly rhinos, began to suffer mysterious extinctions. After around 15,000 BC, they crossed the Bering Land Bridge into the Americas, and similarly, animals like giant sloths and giant bison were also wiped out. This effect snowballed. Even the large predators that hunted these animals began to suffer from severe food shortages. On top of that, a massive climate change, a warming patch, if you will, began around 12,000 years ago. And overlapping with these issues, they faced extinction one after another. On the other hand, modern humans, who originated in the tropics, explosively increased their influence and spread across the globe, finally taking the position of the ecosystem's final boss. The bear's survival and the American black bear. As a result, powerful large mammals are especially uncommon in Eurasia and North America today. Those that did remain were gradually pushed out as human civilization began, eventually facing regional extinction back in ancient times, to the point where they are now remembered almost as mythical animals. But even amidst all this, some creatures survived to the end. These are the predators, like tigers, leopards, lions, wolves, and of course, bears. These were animals that were either very difficult for humans to hunt down because they lived deep in the forests, or they had pack behaviors, much like humans, making mob tactics ineffective against them. Among these, bears are especially unique With about 1 million individuals alive today, they are the most numerous of the large predators, and they still frequently clash with humans in regions of North America and Northern Asia with low population density and high forest cover. Among animals with the predator title, this is definitely an exceptional case. Of course, the vast majority of this population is the American black bear, but when you also consider the brown bear, Grizzly, living across North America and northern Eurasia, and the polar bear that comes to mind with the Arctic, you can see they are still quite a thriving taxonomic group in terms of species diversity. The evolution of bears, the path to omnivory. On a related note, bears share a common ancestor with Canidae, dogs, and Felidae, cats, so they are grouped today in the order Carnivora. Carnivora is a representative order of predators characterized by sharp teeth and claws. Among them, the established theory is that animals in the Ursidae bear family diverged starting from an animal called Ursivus, which appeared around 20 million years ago in what is now Europe. This is because the typical characteristics of bears as we know them began to appear from this point on. Animals in the bear family are characterized by their large size, large and wide skulls, short degenerated tails, and their plantigrade locomotion, walking with the entire sole of the foot on the ground. This makes them a rather unique case that evolved differently from the majority of other animals in the order Carnivora. And all of this is directly related to their diet. In fact, the majority of animals in the bear family are omnivores, which is rare in the order Carnivora. Their diets are often 70 to 90% vegetarian, showing they are clearly specialized for gathering rather than hunting. Of course, there are exceptions. Polar bears, living where there's no vegetation, are 100% carnivorous, and pandas, living in bamboo forests, are 100% herbivorous. Anyway, for the majority of bears, their staple diet consists of nuts like acorns, various berries, mushrooms, and plant roots. They just occasionally mix in meat, eating small animals or insects. Even the Alaskan brown bears, famous for eating salmon, only eat them as a delicacy during the spawning season when salmon are abundant. Normally, they secure their calories primarily from plant-based foods. Because of this diet, they no longer needed to chase large prey, so their bodies grew larger and their tails, needed for sharp turns, became shorter. Also, to support this larger body, they adopted plantigrade walking, using their entire soles. Likewise, their teeth are also a bit different from other carnivorans. Their molars evolved to be wide and flat, to chew berries and plants effectively. Of course, the polar bear is the exception here again, maintaining its sharp carnassial teeth. The fact that some northern bears evolved to hibernate is also because of their gathering-focused diet. In winter, what plants are there to pick? It was simply more advantageous to eat a lot beforehand when it was warm, get fat, and then rest through the winter. Based on this incredible adaptability and physique, bears overcame the Cenozoic era's two great natural disasters, the Ice Age and humans, surviving in most regions of the Earth and establishing themselves as top-tier animals in the ecosystem. The cultural significance of bears, Native American myths, and California. Consequently, at the dawn of human civilization, bears were abundant everywhere on Earth, and like other predators, they were extremely popular objects of animal worship. With their powerful strength, massive size, ability to stand upright on two legs like humans when needed, and even their resurrection performance of waking up after hibernation, they were often regarded as sacred beings. We don't have to look far. To numerous Native American tribes, the bear was a symbol of great power and healing. Bears were seen as messengers of the Great Spirit, and many tribes even had a bear clan. It's a similar context for the bear, a grizzly, on the California Republic flag, becoming a symbol beyond just an animal. In Japan, a prime example is the Ainu people of Hokkaido. Not only did they regard bears as human ancestors, but the word for bear and the word for God were actually the same. Besides these, myths and ritual cultures related to bear totems were widespread throughout the northern regions of Eurasia and North America, and they were one of the major animals that appeared frequently in various mythologies. Some ethnic groups in Northern Europe even avoided calling a bear at all. In fact, it's estimated that in Proto-Indo-European, the word for bear was originally pronounced something like Hurtkos. While this understandably evolved into Ursus in Latin and Arctos in Greek in Southern Europe, you can see that in Germanic languages it was replaced with an entirely unrelated root, like bear in English, and in Slavic languages like medved in Russian. Bear originally meant the brown one, sharing an etymology with brown. Medved means honey eater. It's presumed they intentionally used these other words because they feared that saying the actual word bear would make one appear. Because this practice dates back so far, it's said that no one today even knows what the original word even was. On the other hand, in later eras, they did the opposite. They hunted bears enthusiastically, also as a sign of respect. The Old Norse berserker, often translated today as berserker or frenzied warrior, originally meant bear skin. It was a title given to a warrior strong enough to fight and defeat a bear to get its pelt. In China, they hunted bears to obtain parts like paws and gallbladders, believing they would gain health from the bear's power and vitality. So, while the methods and forms varied wildly, the point is that the bear was universally regarded as a powerful, spiritual being and an object of reverence, regardless of the civilization. It's fascinating how such an animal has suddenly ended up with a cute image in modern times. The bear's overwhelming physical abilities. It's no wonder the ancients trembled. In reality, bears possess physical specs that are second to none. They even hold a significant advantage when compared to other large predators like lions and tigers. Of course, even among bears, the specs vary wildly by species. Excluding outliers like pandas and spectacled bears, the smallest, the sun bear, is about 150 centimeters long and weighs 40 to 70 kilograms, 88 to 154 pounds, similar in size to a human. The largest species, the polar bear, can have individuals up to 3 meters in length and weighing over a ton, so the spectrum is quite wide. In fact, you don't even need to go to polar bears. The brown bear, the grizzly, is already the largest predator class, and it's known to have no rivals in Eurasia and the Americas. Considering they handle most of their diet with plants, you'd almost think they're over-specced. But when you think about how many herbivores have overwhelming physiques, you could instead see bears as a perfect life form that combines the advantages of both herbivory and carnivory. If these guys had been pure carnivores, humans probably would have found a way to exterminate them early on, no matter what it took. Are they just big? No. Based on the average for brown bears across Eurasia, their hide is about 5 centimeters, 2 inches, thick, and in frequently used areas like the back and shoulders, it reaches 10 centimeters, 4 inches. Their fur is also incredibly dense, making it difficult for the teeth and claws of most animals to even leave a scratch. On top of this, during their bulking season, they add an extra layer of defense with fat, making them difficult to take down in one shot, not just against physical blows, but even with a gun. And it's not just tanking defense. Their damage output is insane. They are solid muscle, capable of easily lifting rocks their own size. If you take a direct hit from one of their paw swipes, you're retired, minimum, with a crushed skull or spine. Even if you somehow just get grazed, those sharp claws can tear you to shreds. You might think they lack agility because of their bulky size. That is a major misconception. Their attack speed, and especially their movement speed, is ridiculously fast. They can hit 40 to 50 kilometers per hour, 25 to 31 miles per hour at a full sprint. Usain Bolt's all-time top speed was 44.7 kilometers per hour, 27.8 miles per hour. So unless a human is riding at least a 110cc scooter, it's not even a contest. And when you consider they can do all this, sprint up mountainsides and climb trees with ease, with that physique, I think it's best to just give up any thought of running away. The complete package, equipped with intelligence. And bears don't just have brute strength, you know. They are also famous for being very intelligent animals. Their intelligence is said to be roughly the next level down from primates, equivalent to about a 3-year-old human child. They have not only good learning abilities, but also excellent long-term memory, allowing them to find feeding spots they visited 10 years prior, remember and avoid past threats, and even partially use tools, such as scratching themselves with a branch. At this point, you'd have to call them a totally broken hybrid animal that excels in DPS, damage, tanking, defense, and utility skills. The danger of bears, even a small one, is still a bear. But I'm sure some of you are thinking, isn't that just based on brown bears? Surely a smaller bear is manageable, right? That is also a very dangerous way of thinking. A bear is a bear, no matter how small. In fact, a horrific case of someone being killed by the very bear known for being small, the American black bear, happened recently in the US. In June 2023, a 66-year-old man in Arizona was sitting in a chair on his property when he was suddenly attacked and killed by a black bear. Neighbors shouted and honked horns, but the bear did not stop its attack. The bear was shot and killed by a neighbor. When found, it was in the process of consuming him. Around the same time, in November 2023, a black bear broke into a 71-year-old woman's home in California and killed her. This incident was officially confirmed as the first ever recorded fatal black bear attack in California's history. In both cases, clear evidence of predation, of the victims being eaten, was found. This wasn't just an attack, they were literally eaten. Despite this, the fortunate thing is that bears are fundamentally animals that avoid humans. As omnivores that lean heavily vegetarian, it's very rare for them to strike first unless they are provoked. The problem is, this provocation can happen without you even realizing it. A classic example is this. You spot a cute bear cub in the woods or mountains. Do not approach it. Get in your car or do whatever you have to and leave that spot immediately without looking back. There is a 99% chance the mother bear is nearby, and the one thing a mother bear hates most is anything messing with her cub. Also, you need to be careful when cooking while camping in areas with many bears. It's fortunate they're omnivores and don't usually strike first, but they're also surprising foodies. Once they taste human food, they never forget it and will come looking just from the smell. It's gotten to the point where, at US campsites and in suburbs, there are bears that will break into cars or homes just to raid the refrigerator. That says it all, really. Bears in America, from the frontier era to today. You might think this all sounds like stories from Russia or Canada, someone else's problem. But the issue is, this could very well be a story about right here, in America. On the US mainland, especially the West, massive predator hunts were carried out during the frontier era under the pretext of protecting farms and livestock. As a result, the grizzly bear virtually disappeared. The grizzly, once the symbol of California, is now completely gone from that state. However, the American black bear population across the US has in fact successfully recovered thanks to decades of conservation policies. It's now estimated that hundreds of thousands of them are living in the country. It's even become routine for them to come down from national parks like Yellowstone and Yosemite and into the backyards of suburban areas in New Jersey and Colorado to rummage through trash. You could say that coexisting with bears has already begun to establish itself as the new normal in America. There is criticism, with people saying, "Why did we even protect all these predators? And now I can't even go into my own backyard freely." But now that they have successfully returned to the ecosystem, and since they were one of the original inhabitants of this land, it's a very awkward situation to just decide to hunt them all down and make them extinct again. The black bear. Can we be complacent? Fortunately, with adult males weighing around 130 to 150 kilograms, 286 to 330 pounds, and a tendency to flee first upon sensing humans, the American black bear is considered the weakest among bears. That's why many experts describe them as relatively docile. But as I explained before, you must not forget, a bear is a bear and a predator is a predator. America's real problem isn't the vastness of its land. The problem is that this vast wilderness isn't far away. It's connected directly to our backyards. This is the unique situation in America, fundamentally different from the wilderness in other countries. Above all, as numerous suburbs have come into direct contact with wild areas, the problem is that people's perception has actually become lax. They've started treating bears less like terrifying predators and more like annoying, trash-rummaging animals, leading to a state where safety awareness and rules of conduct are not being properly followed. These horrifying cases in Arizona and California in 2023 clearly show just how fatal the common perception that black bears are docile can sometimes be. It is time to learn in advance what to do when you encounter a bear and what to be careful of, and to seriously consider how to achieve an ideal coexistence with nature. We hope today's story has given you a reason to rethink the animal known as the bear. This has been Flat Archive. Thank you.